Welcome back to the farm, everyone. Might be a little bit of a holding pattern today, depending on how our next batch of beans matures. They could go today, or they could not go for 5 days. It just depends. Instead of doing nothing, even if we have a long list of things to do, Dad and I are going to run up to the X9 that we left at the field and go ahead and change that draper belt clamp, get a new one on there, not run the risk of the old one breaking apart. Beautiful morning, clear skies, a little bit dusty. Dad's gonna go ahead and detension this draper belt, and then we're gonna fix this right here with the new bar we ordered. You can't really tell it get less tense at all. There's just a bolt on the back that when you loosen it, it lets the tension off. Obviously, that's what a tensioner does.
I'd like to know how that got bent.
How much were these?
$100.
Total?
What?
The whole thing was $100.
What was it say on there?
136. That's not horrible. Before you take those off, wait. They look like they have a little bit of a groove in them.
Goes to the inside, doesn't it?
I think it's like that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
We're thinking that maybe that piece was bent somehow because these big cleats were running against the rock dam guards, and that's probably somewhere under there catching it and bending it. This is the other side. It's almost consistently a ½ inch to an inch above all the way across, and it's not had any issues yet. So either this belt wasn't tight enough and it slid down and started catching and bending that bar we just replaced, or there's some other issue. We ran into Sloan's and talked to Chris, the shop foreman. He said there's a guide on the rollers, so it shouldn't move up and down. Maybe it's just because we had it loose. We're gonna tighten it back up and keep an eye on it. Hopefully nothing goes wrong.
Turn the sickle with it.
I'm busy.
No, it's moving. Whoa.
Put it down. Yeah. Got it. Yeah. After multiple attempts, we finally got that hinge draper on the head cart. It's not as easy as the other ones to put on. It's just really finicky to get right. Now we're looking at a few fields of April planted 3-7 beans, seeing how far along they are. Things have really progressed quickly in the last 4 or 5 days. This dry heat is just maturing the beans. We looked at a Don Mario 3756 East or 3-7. They were close. I don't know if we'll try them today. Now we're out in the field of Pioneer 37A18s, again a 3-7 bean. They also look pretty close from the road, other than where we had to replant in the pond. They smell like a field of beans. I feel my allergies flaring up already. Those are still a little wet. 14.5, 15% maybe. How long you think? Couple days? Boss says a couple days, so it'll be a couple days. Still some moisture in these pods, which is probably the best time to cut them, but that's not a conversation for right now. We're just gonna move everything back home for now. May cut a sample here in a little bit on some of those beans we checked. Don't know exactly. It's just tough this time of year. We need to get a good rain to even things up, and we're not getting it. I don't know if we want to gamble and wait, or just go ahead and woo, there we go. Go ahead and cut. Maybe if we don't cut anything today, I can actually find the time to clean the windows so you guys can see what's going on behind us. at least for a couple hours till they get dirty again. We've got this new racetrack of a highway, so I'm gonna take the easy way home. Usually we would have avoided it because it was so broke down and full of holes that it was rattling your brains out. Now it's just smooth and steady. Oh yeah, that freshly paved road was lovely. And I beat the X9 home, which is hilarious because he left before me. He pulled into that field right after I went by. I may just stay here for a moment. He's gonna hook up and then cut a sample. I don't want to be in the way. Valve open. Nope. Maybe I'm supposed to do the button first. Yeah, if you flip the button first, it doesn't sag down like that.
That button rotates?
Yeah, it's like this is the button right here. That's the diagram for it. When you put it on the trailer, you push it and then turn it left. And to cut, you push it and turn it right. And there's one on both sides. And the valve stops the flow. If that makes any sense at all.
Yesterday, this combine, I think you were taking a video, but it looked so sad because when we first got to Lake Road, it was drooped down.
Yeah.
And then his auger wouldn't like extend the other portion. He's coming around and it looks broken almost.
Well, I think he had his valves wrong on the Lake Road too. It's really confusing. I don't know why they have to have two different buttons, but they do. Waxing your tractor to the north. The wind is out of the north, so if he started cutting, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. Better off just not doing it at all.
It's already been done.
No, the software has to be key on.
I know that.
Then why is your key off?
It said to say turn key off.
Yeah, but you have to turn it on, let the screen boot up on its own, and then accept the software.
Well, that's what I'm going to do.
You're better off just not updating it.
Ever. And it just pops up every time I start it.
Well, just skip it. Everything else pops up, you skip. You never know when one of these updates is actually going to cause harm and not do good.
Cancel then.
But
you just told me to cancel.
You just committed to doing it.
You told me to cancel it. Feedlot? No. Which one is it?
South of Marty's, behind Marty's.
I'm not doing behind Marty's, I'm doing this.
We don't have a separate field for that. The moisture is around about 10%. We only cut like 100 foot. He opened it up and then decided maybe he doesn't want to get the freshly waxed tractor dirty that's directly adjacent to the field. "60 seconds later, now we're headed back to the combine to cut this tiny little acre here. It's not even an acre. For 10%, there's a lot of green and yellow vegetation in it still. That spot's gonna make much. The beans average mostly dry on that little acre we cut, except for the spots that were green, and they were super green. So there's a lot of green pods and beans in the sample. I don't know if we're gonna keep cutting or not. Maybe give it about 30 seconds and then try some more. We've got to weigh this first little patch separately because my dad owns this one and the rest of the field is my dad and his brothers. We always try to keep it as fair as possible. Doesn't matter if it's ours, someone else's, no one gets shortchanged. I definitely carried an extra variety to this field because you can see two different colors if you go across there. 99.9% of this field are Don Mario 3756Es. It'll be the 4th year we've had them. Some companies change varieties every darn year, and others get a good one and they stick with it. Gotta appreciate that. You think you could run a 50-foot draper with this auger?
No, there's auger you could.
Well, shuffling everything around, getting the trucks and the head cart to the field. Katie made that look easy. Then I'd take 100 times to get that hinge draper hooked up. This one should not take long at all. Decent looking beans, just a small field, unless they run a rock through the combines. That was incredible how fast these two machines just cut that. Just having a big draper makes a difference on short rows, less turning. That's where you really see the average productivity add up. And when you got a big X9 pushing it, that definitely doesn't hurt. Just offloaded the last bit of beans from that first field. It was only 17.5 acres, but the 3756E Don Mario beans made 75, which is really impressive given what some of our marsh planted beans did. This farm has slightly better natural drainage. Also, as Dad always likes to indicate, it's had a lifetime of manure on it because it used to be next to the big cattle feedlot, whatever. So it's got good fertility even for poor dirt. It's amazing how much yield you add with that extra organic matter and fertility. The field to the north, which was planted the same day, is a couple points wetter. We don't know if we're going to be able to run them or not, so we're emptying out right now. Were there a few green beans in there? Slightly. Does that help our yield? Partially. Unfortunately, I don't know if we have anything else that's any drier than that. That's the really hard part about soybeans, is that once they're all mature and dry, they're 9%. So you either got to cut some of them wet like this, or lose a bunch of water weight and cut them at 8 or 9%. Dad is leaving in the 670. I don't know what that means. Do I follow him? Do I stay here? You tell me. Well, this seems safe. He didn't even fold his ladder in. The disrespect. All jokes aside, Katie is ahead of him somewhere watching the road for traffic, so we should be good. I would guess he is moving way south down there a mile to those Pioneer 37s to cut a sample. They're way down there cutting a sample of those Pioneer 37 A18s, and I'm sitting here in the air conditioning just putting unnecessary hours on this tractor. I should definitely get out, except for every time I get out, I immediately get radioed to get back in and move something that I just got out of. I'll wait and hear what the boss has to say. Want me to bring the cart down, or what do you want me to do, boss?
I want you to help me set that head off.
That's the worst possible thing. I think that means we're moving to the next field. At least that's how I translated it. Said the beans are testing 9% after saying they wouldn't cut today. That's funny how that works. Mother Nature's always 5 steps ahead of you. Looks like this is the entrance today. It's different every time you pull into the field. Flip the button, just doing the valve. We didn't move very far either. Time to cut another 70 acres. old man. Not in the beans. Cutting another one. Unfortunately, this one has a little bit of water hemp in it. I don't know if we didn't get it all in the corn last year or where it came from. Our control was lackluster. I've seen some neighbors, not adjacent to us, just neighbors in the county with much worse weed control. Still, you hate to see any water hemp at all, and we've got a few fields with some. It's a tough opposition to control. We're still in the earlier stages of harvest. From what I've gathered in the surrounding area, anywhere from 60 bushel beans to 85 plus. As you go north and east of here, it gets particularly higher. Guys cutting those 80, 85, maybe 90 bushel beans. Better soil on average, and I think they just caught better rains and didn't get too much rain. That's not to discount their efforts or take any credit away from them. Mother Nature giveth and taketh, and it tooketh from us this year. We just didn't get the right rains at the right time. There may be absolutely zero merit to this idea. Even if these are a little bit on the wet side, we go ahead and cut them because they're calling for a chance of 1.5 to 2 inches of rain in the next few days, which would be lovely for maturing our crop and also bringing the moisture up on some of these soybeans. The main point though is that this field has a lot of water hemp, and I didn't know if we cut it, spread the water hemp over the ground, and get a rain while it's still really warm outside, if we can't germinate some of it. Ultimately, this would reduce the soiled seed bank population out here because there's tens of hundreds of thousands of millions of water hemp seeds, and every one that we could get to germinate now and not put on seed would be a victory. A small one, but in the war against water hemp, every single plant you can control counts. In this field, we didn't control enough of them. We're gonna have to leave this spot we replanted. It's just not mature enough yet. I was all excited there for a few minutes thinking we had the leg up on water hemp by cutting it and spreading it out and getting it germinated. So I text Matt Geiger, the technical agronomist with crop protectants that's an expert in herbicides, seed treatments, everything you can imagine. Really like talking to him. And he took the wind out of my sails, unfortunately, and said that water hemp usually does not germinate until it's been scarified. That's the word he used. I assume it means that the water hemp needs to stay outside and overwinter or spend some time in the elements before it'll even germinate. For as simple as plants seem to be, they're also very smart at the same time, because it'd be very convenient if it would just germinate right now and then die off before winter, because we'd eliminate 3/4 of our soil seed bank. Obviously, those natural protections are in there for a reason. Dad requested that I come over and look at something. I don't know what, though. A rock? I think he was just telling me to come pick up a rock. Hilarious. That's okay, happy to do it. Someone's got to pick up the rocks or they'll never get picked up. After thinking about it for a while, it's probably not a great sign for these beans that a 3.7 maturity planted late April is already cutting the 19th of September. Unless I'm reading the signs wrong, I'd say these ones finished up early, and that's not good. Ran out of water on a farm that needs water. It's not a race out here. If it were, I know which combine would win. And it's not the far one over there. It's the big one next to us. We're directly to the south of some of that early April planted Pioneers 1742 PCE. I'm gonna go in there and take a look at it real quick. I wonder if this stuff is food grade, because it looks like the birds have already taken a look at the outside row. Must have been tasty. It is unbelievably dry out here on the ground. Field is full of dust from cutting soybeans. The plant itself still has upright ears. Typically tells you that the moisture's not dropped under 20 yet. Once it gets that dry, the ears droop down. I wasn't impressed with the stand we had out here when I yield checked it earlier. For some reason, it's probably the winter annuals. We just didn't get a great stand. And when I say didn't get a great stand, instead of 35,000, which we targeted, we ended up with like 32,000. There's still a little bit of greenness in the canopy. I can definitely see where tar spot moved in late. Don't know if there's any yield implications to that. It is there though on the leaves. There's 4 ears I pulled, probably better looking ears. I skipped some runts, so don't think the whole field looks like that. It also doesn't have a perfect stand, so if there's a skip here or there, you're gonna get a big ear. These are good counting ears. If we've got the population out there, it should be good yield, assuming test weight's there. Not liking the insect feeding and some of the kernel quality I'm seeing on the tips. I don't know why that's an issue this year, but I have seen it in a few fields, not just with this one hybrid. This corn feels drier than the plants look like, so we may need to ear test some of this because we could pick it here in the next week if it's dry. If it's not dry, we're gonna let Mother Nature keep working on it. And the burners are on again today, so she's bringing down the moisture. We're not gonna be able to finish this field because the hillside on the northeast corner, past where they are right now, is still 18% moisture. So we're gonna cut enough to fill the truck and quit. These beans aren't looking too promising. I think they'd be lucky to make 60 out here. I'm not gonna say I'm surprised because this is a farm that needs rain, especially when you get over to the south end over there. It's a very low organic matter, sloping, dry ground, needs rain, it's got terraces. And like I've said 1,000 times, like a broken record, we have not gotten much rain at the end. That's the last of the dry beans out here. Something else. Very rarely do I get the green light to load the snot out of a semi-truck, but when I do, I take advantage of it. With what I've loaded off so far, these beans have guaranteed themselves at least 61 bushels an acre. I don't know how much is left out here. Probably a lot of that does have some water damage in it, so it's not going to be the best stuff. It's also not going to be a zero. These will probably finish in the mid-60s, and for a farm of this quality, with what we're seeing on other farms of better quality, mid-60s is probably going to be a happy one to take home. Katie's got the signs of hydraulic leak, so run the machine, see if we can find it. It's coming from up in that valve body. Okay. Dad ended up running that combine in to hose the area off so it'll be easier to diagnose and work on. Katie took my pickup. I left the grain cart there by the X9 and the big draper, and I'm taking this big old load of soybeans in home. There's a slight chance of storms first thing tomorrow morning, so we opted to bring the machines in tonight to get them out of the rain. Other than the grain cart, it gets to just stay out there. I'm not too worried about it. Hopefully get the 670 fixed in the morning. X9 should be showing up here any minute. With how it's been going lately, I'm planning on it not raining. If it doesn't, we have one more short 40 that'll cut, I think. Oh my gosh, I'm about to have a sneeze attack. I got dusted by that combine. I'll tune in with you guys tomorrow. We'll turn this into a twofer, see what happens. Ladies and gentlemen, that right there is a sight for sore eyes. I guess it's not gonna stay dry forever. We do eventually get a rain. I'm not complaining because I'm tired of harvesting. We haven't even really run that hard and we've gotten a lot done. It's more so that we just need rain to mature these beans evenly, to soften the ground up a little bit. It's been dry in August and September for us here in Mattoon. Skylar from Sloan's was here this morning looking at that valve body on the S670. I don't know if an O-ring was bad, but there was a lot of oil coming out of it when the machine was running. It looks like it goes to the PowerCast tailboard. Not sure. He's gonna back out the machine and then run it to see if it's leaking. On that valve body. That's cheap. A measly O-ring going out can cost you a lot from how much hydraulic oil we'll probably have to put in. If you think about this machine having 1,400 separator hours, the O-ring lasted a long time. Maybe they're supposed to last longer than that. We'll take it. Things are going to break over time, just like me and you. A little over 1/10 of an inch of rain so far. Another chance this afternoon. I'm not going to hold my breath on that one. If the sun comes out, it is going to get muggy today. Chance of storms this weekend. We really wouldn't turn down 1 inch or 2 inches of rain. If it doesn't rain, we're just going to be harvesting again.
Maybe these beans will be better what I think they are because of that 1 inch rain they had down here.
That late rain can make a big difference. Holy smokes, it looks like you cut through a scrap iron field. How's this belt holding up? It almost looks like it's got a little bend in it, Dad.
Might have.
The plan was to service the hinge draper out on the cart, but there's too many and there's too much weight on the cutter bar. We're taking it in home and hooking it up to the combine. Should make it a little easier. With the minimal amount of rain we got, we could actually cut if the sun comes out. We're gonna keep servicing, see what we get. Of course the X9 is blocked in, so we gotta move this one first. Believe it or not, we didn't think we had room to service this back home. We've just got too much stuff parked around, not enough yard space. So we opted to do it up here. Master doesn't know what he's doing, obviously. There's a lot to fix this morning, and I can almost guarantee a lot of them got broken out here in this field that's full of rocks. Because Dad dumped all of his rocks out here when he was a kid. Not literally. Why did you say there's all sorts of rocks out here?
Because they hauled dirt in for the cattle, and he had rocks in it.
Makes sense if you don't think about it. Rocks are like job security. Sometimes you cut a couple hundred acres, don't break a single thing, and then you cut 60 acres one day and break all sorts. That's how much we changed just this morning on a 45-foot draper. That's a lot. When we were going down the road, we noticed the pin had slid out. The clip must have came off that holds this bar up on the left side. There's 3 sections to it. We're trying to get it all the way through.
That didn't help.
Dad and I ran back home to get the loader tractor. We could probably use the lever jack to do that as well, except for we didn't feel like running the risk of severely injuring ourselves this morning. So we're taking the easy option. We're just a 1/4 mile down the road anyways, doesn't take long. Let's see how this goes. Just a little bit. Go down just the tiniest bit. We've been out and about getting things done. Just checked the field of beans a mile to the east here that looks like it might cut this afternoon. And now we're looking at Dad's bridge project, where we've expanded the width of the bridge with another 6-inch I-beam. We had a neighbor come over, pour some new concrete, and we set in an extra I-beam on both sides. Gonna drill some holes, put some boards in, not today, other than drilling, and widen it just because the X9's bigger and don't want to take any chances. It's already over-engineered from a load standpoint. There's a ton of big I-beams underneath. Just don't want to run the risk of falling off. Obviously, I'm not providing anything of value. I'm just watching. Dad's doing the hard work, although I did supply the drill and the bits. Here's the other field where I did the side-by-side of the Pioneer 34 A98s and the new 35 Z76. I think there'll be a little more variability out here. It's good soil, just planted later, and a lot of water damage. They're a little bit behind. They caught a late rain that might bump the yield up a little bit. Hopefully, they're good beans. We'll see what happens. I don't think they'll go this week. Alrighty, everyone. It's been about an hour or so. Dad and I worked on that project on the bridge. Now we're going to mosey on over to the field and cut a sample of probably 9% beans. That's alright. At least we can cut. Hopefully. Currently waiting a few minutes, letting Dad get a head start so we don't get a little bit of a log jam at the field. Katie's also going to ride with me. I'll warn you in advance, the field we're going to sits on a busy highway. We've got a narrow bridge that crosses a big ditch for us to get into it, so we're going to pull straight into the field and run over some beans. It's just safer and easier, even if we lose some beans in the process. The X9 made it. Looks like we got a little window in traffic, so I'm going to try to jam it in here real quick, gracefully with no issues. We made it. It was only a little bit stressful. Gotta do what you gotta do. A lot of years we have the corn across the road picked, which gives us a nice little lane to use to cross. We don't have that luxury this season, and the beans are ready, so we're just gonna try to crack her open this way. Whatever we ran over is probably less than our insurance deductible. He's really close right there. We just got the green light to go get the grain cart. They smell wet, but it looks like there's plenty of dust. Just gonna run the X9 so we don't have to move 2 machines into this field. Only take about an hour and a half once we get going. Of all of the things we got done this morning, cleaning the windows was not one of them. I'm sorry. I apologize. I've told you all time and time again, do not leave things places where if you forget them, they will get damaged or destroyed. And yet, you left your water bottle there. It's a miracle that you were thirsty and went for a drink before you got to road speed, because that one would have been a goner. Dad's sitting over there loaded. He just radioed and said he's not sure if they're going to cut or not. A lot of green, high moisture in spots. Either way, we're going to have to load a truck, so might as well cut 800 bushel and see what the elevator says. Green beans? No, I don't see any of them. Almost looks like he needs to close her down a little bit, letting a lot of green ones through. I don't know where they'd be coming from. Not really any green beans in this field at all. Based on what's in the grain cart, it should be fairly obvious that we are in fact getting all the beans and the pods and even some stems. Other than the field we had to leave yesterday, I think this is our last field of April planted beans. Don Mario 3756Es. I've already talked about them a little bit. They look pretty good, good bean size, some water damage, and this is again a smaller field, so we'll see what they average. The combine's showing them averaging dry. That's all that matters, other than having too much FM in there. If you've got those pods, you can get docked for that as well. 11% though, might as well load the wagons. Dad doesn't think they're gonna cut, so we may wait and see what the first load tests before we load anything else. Those look pretty good in the hopper. I've been overruled. Dad doesn't want to cut them, he thinks they're too wet. I said go ahead and cut them. You're gaining water weight even if you get docked 1% or 2 on moisture. He's the boss. Falling out. Oh, it's the second time I angled it. It's a lot easier to work on bridges when it's bone dry outside because you can get underneath them. This one can hold a lot of weight and a lot of width.
Kind of rude.
Let's stress the load.
There you go.
Wide. It's extra wide.
Extra wide. We've been debating whether or not it looked like it was going to rain for the last hour, and I think it does in fact look like it may rain somewhere. May not rain here. That's probably farther than home.
It's coming this way, isn't it?
Eventually. On his shot, looks like that rain is building to the west. The first load of the elevator tested right under 13%. Dad thought those were the driest beans. So we're just going to unhook for now because if it rains a lot, we may be thinking about picking corn. I'd rather unhook the head when it's nice and dry as opposed to when it's sloppy wet. A rain would do these beans, the ground, and us a little good right now. Plus we got some Illini versus Nebraska football tonight. That doesn't get rained out. We're hoping that if we get a little break, Sloan's can come put the grain tank extension on that X9 because it desperately needs it. If you don't recall, the whole ordeal was that the one we ordered when we got it wasn't the right one for the fitment we had. So that's why we don't have one. It needs it because it cuts so fast, it fills so fast, and it'd only be worse in corn. Now it's coming east. Knew that humidity was going somewhere. That's gonna smell tomorrow. And there is the rainbow after a quick 35/100ths of rain. That was a big one, did not take long. I've received fairly good intel that north of town, they're still running hard, picking corn, cutting beans. To the west, there may be another rain sliding across our direction, and I wouldn't really be that upset. Other than the fact that Lucky and I have been going around picking up sticks because every time the wind blows above 20 miles an hour, I get a whole new batch of branches in the yard. I wish I could tell you what tomorrow's gonna bring. I don't exactly know. We very well may be picking corn. We could be cutting beans again. It's all going to depend on what the weather does later tonight and first thing in the morning. I don't think we have any corn quite ready, although we have a few fields that are very close. They're probably sub 20% moisture, and we'll start to think about taking those out if we don't have beans that'll cut. I would keep this video moving into day 3, but I can't afford the editing time and of course upsetting some of you who like the shorter videos, so I'm gonna pull the plug. As always, I greatly appreciate all of you guys tuning in. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace!